Hi, and welcome to Decoding AQ, helping you to learn the tools, mindsets, and actions to thrive in an ever-changing world. Hi, and welcome to the next episode of Decoding AQ. I have a very special guest with me today, a good friend, Dean Jackson. Welcome.
Welcome. I'm excited.
Good
All the
stuff.
way. Look at us globally connecting.
We are on this transportation network called
Yes,
Zoom.
exactly. I
And
like that.
for those of you who don't know, which I think will be the very few, Dean is an amazing entrepreneur. He's got a whole suite and collection of tools for marketing, businesses, and essentially to help entrepreneurs make more money and be more successful. And we met through Strategic Coach, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, many, many years.
Many years. How long have you been in Coach?
So I started out in 1997 and I did the 3-year program. And then I moved to Florida and I was, spending all my time down here, still kind of stayed connected with Dan. And when he started his new 10 times program about 10 years ago now, I was, first class in the group, and we've been together nonstop since then, and now into the free zone frontier.
Which is amazing. Can you think back to that first free zone frontier day? Just give a description of what that was like, and what is Free Zone Frontier, the group that we go to?
Well, Dan is crystal clear on this idea that the future is in collaboration, and that we're developing our, unique abilities, our capabilities organizationally, and we are in this ever expanding opportunity for joining those forces to find people who we can collaborate with, to plug into their operation or their capabilities to make something even bigger. And nobody's really thinking like this. It's more about collaboration is really what the future is. And I'm very excited because you see all the tools and all of the directionally, just everything is going that way as we migrate to Cloudlandia here.
And I think it's interesting, just that shift of mind to go from one which was around, how do I protect my thing? How do I make it, so, bulletproof in terms of how unique I am, how much I protect it, how much I'm in competition, and that I go all out to win. And that's how businesses, survive and thrive and succeed. To then think very differently and radically about collaborating, not with those that might be friendly, but those that historically might have been perceived as the enemy, that your competitors become collaborators. How did you find that thinking for you? Did it instantly just switch, or was it an adaptation that took a bit of time from where you'd come before?
No, I'm always, it was right on track with, because you could see there were everything that we had been discussing in Strategic Coach, in conversations, in, this whole environment that we've put ourselves in. All the conversations and everything were kind of leading towards that anyway, and so it was really just a formalization of it, of kind of recognizing this is what that's
the
about.
Better way.
Yeah, and it's that there's the thing. It's more, and the reason the word's free zone, meaning that it's free of competition. It's free of, you're not approaching somebody trying to be a vendor. You're trying to be a collaborator with somebody, and together reach the bigger
goal.
Yeah.
And I think what was interesting for me was the difference between, say, the conceptual thinking of red ocean and blue ocean, and blue ocean being where nobody else sails.
Right.
That's kind of one way of thinking about a free zone, is that you're playing a game no one else plays. Great.
Right.
But it's just a magic set of glasses you put on in a red ocean to change it to a blue one, not because no one else is there, but because the people that are there, you play with.
Yes.
And that's a different way I felt of what triggered for me of what a free zone could be. It could be where no one else is playing, great, or it
Mhm.
could be playing where everyone else is, but in a different way.
Or gathering somebody from the red ocean and say, hey, let's
Come
go
over here.
together and go over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try
And
these classes. Yeah.
and even better than the ocean is Cloudlandia, right? Tell us a little bit
Yes.
more about Cloudlandia.
Well, that's been the loving term that we've named this place, which is really, it's taking on all the characteristics of that. This is, as you mentioned, we're gathering in the cloud, where it feels like we're together, and we could just as easily be having this conversation sitting across a table from each other. But we're having the same conversation here in Cloudlandia, where we each have instant access to, you know? And so there's so many, um, I think what we're seeing right now is this unbelievable migration of the world to Cloudlandia as a real place. Like, as we're spending more of our time here, we're staking out our corner of
Yeah.
Cloudlandia, and we've got instant access to everybody, every other citizen of Cloudlandia, you know?
What I
So
like,
amazing, because there's so many opportunities that come with it. If you look at where we are right now, you know, I started thinking about, if you just take content, you take the things that we're doing, the ways that we share with words, with audio, with pictures, with video, all of those things, I started thinking and tracing back kind of through history, what have been the big advancements, kind of thing, right? And so if you start out thinking communication, the way we communicate, and the current game that we're playing as a species called the cooperation game, where we're all increasingly cooperating more and more to advance the survival of our
yep.
species, and we've been, you know, the pinnacle of that. Now, when you look at it back, I'm sure communication started out with us sort of grunting and gesturing and you know, pointing and things like that. But then the first sort of communication that was asynchronous was probably the first time somebody etched a picture on a cave wall,
Yeah.
or on in the dirt or something like that, right? That was the technology advancement that we had right then. So you could have a message, if you wrote it in the dirt, that lasted as long as till the rain came, but you've left a mark and somebody else could do it. And I started thinking about all the advancements as we go along. It probably wasn't, you know, until we developed language and we developed words and things, but you could only communicate as far as your voice could carry, and in real time. There was no way to think. And somebody maybe started saying, you know what, we should start writing these down. We should start writing down what he said, so people would start scribing things, and, you know, paper got invented. And then it wasn't until 1450 or so when Gutenberg invented the
Press.
printing
Mm-hmm.
press. And that the movable type, there was printing presses, but movable type opened it up to now make duplicates of stuff, right? And I was thinking, Dan Sullivan and I have started a podcast called Welcome to Cloudlandia. And this, I was thinking, we were joking about the scribes, the monks that for centuries, thousands of years, maybe, no, centuries, were the ones who were tasked with recreating printed things. That was the only way to do something. They would
hand scribe
scribe each thing.
Yep.
So you can imagine around the water cooler the talk of, you know, have you heard about this Gutenberg guy? He's gonna put us all out of business. Oh, you're such a worrywart. Like, imagine the history of adaptability.
Yeah.
The talk around the water cooler at the monks. And that's probably when they decided to get into the beer making instead of the things. But then you fast forward, it wasn't until then, the mid to late 1800s, when the next advancement
Big leap.
came, which was the ability to record sound, followed quickly by the ability to record pictures, moving pictures, and photography. All of that stuff kind of happened in the 1800s. And then from there to now, it's been this ongoing, just
explosion.
have never somebody not being satisfied. I think about, Ricky Gervais is one of my favorite things. The way he talks. Imagine Ricky Gervais. Imagine Thomas Edison showing Ricky Gervais the motion picture for the first time, right? And your first reaction will have to be, wow, that picture's moving. What's going on here, right? But then Ricky Gervais would be the guy going, yeah, but we can't hear him, can we? I mean, and then he joins up the sound with the thing. And, it was all in these boxes where you had to wind the things to watch it. And that for decades, that was the way that people watched motion pictures, as 1 minute little things in a pub that they would do. So then they thought, well, I don't want to keep standing here. And so they go over and they make motion pictures now, create movie theaters. And then nobody's satisfied with that, but I'd rather stay home.
Yeah.
And then they invent TV. And then, well, it's not in color, is it? And then they do color TV. And then there's 3 channels. And in the 70s, they're going, well, it's not really much, is it? And then cable comes and you keep advancing. And we've gotten to the point right now where the proposition that we have with content creators is, I'll tell you what, I want access to every piece of video ever created in the history of the world. I want to access it on any of the devices that I own at any time. Right now, for me and my entire family, or anybody I share my passwords with, and I will pay you, sir, 30 cents a day. That's the proposal that we're at right now, where we've landed. And it's amazing where not only now can we consume any of the content that's ever been created, we can also distribute any of the content we create. And there's no obstacles, Even 20 years ago, at the peak of the music industry, 1999, the top year, $14.6 billion in CD sales, right before Napster came on board that there were 3 music companies that owned over half of all of the music that was created. So there were probably a dozen people that were the gatekeepers of deciding what music got out into the world.
Yeah.
Because of the tremendous cost of doing it. And now there's nobody stopping. Now we've come to the point where a kid in his grandmother's closet can produce the #1 song in the history of the Billboard charts on his own. That just happened last year
with collaborators. With collaborators he'd never met.
With collaborators in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a the adaptability and all of that has been just cascading.
I think what's interesting, we live in this sort of Oliver Twist world of where more please, sir.
Yes.
We don't know,
Absolutely.
We don't have an enough button that when is enough.
Yes.
And, I was reading, interestingly, just an article earlier today about Netflix, because it was spurred on by another story that was the last remaining Blockbusters store is a collaboration now with Airbnb.
Airbnb, I saw that. Yeah.
I thought, how cool was that you could go into an
at
old
that,
Blockbuster store.
The time in our lifetimes, we've seen something. We've seen the invention of the VCR, the rise of Blockbuster, and the elimination of Blockbuster in one 30-year period.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, at their peak, they were like 80,000 staff, 9,000 stores of Blockbusters, and the Netflix guys, when they first started,
Tried to get him to buy.
tried to get them to buy it, for 50 million. And, they were a struggling just DVD by post, startup. And here you go, Blockbusters, get into the DVD proposition. And, each of those shifts, and it was, I think it was one of the guy's daughters, wasn't it? That they'd been up late watching Aladdin, and then they were chatting in the car with one of his other friends and saying he'd just had to pay a exorbitant amount of a late penalty fee. I remember those at Blockbusters. You'd run to try and get it,
That's
get
how
it in
they
the
made
wall.
all their money.
It was like
that
40,
and the rewind fee.
and the rewind, $40 late payment fee, and it's surely there's a better way.
Yeah.
And so this comes to an interesting point about adaptability and adaption.
Yeah.
In terms of a point of frustration, a burning platform. So, there must be a better way. $40 fee for something I need to invent because I've been hurt and therefore I want to adapt and come up with new ideas. Other things that we've realized in the last 6 months is that it might not be our choice and something happens outside, an environmental change, a industry change and shift that then forces us to rethink who we are, how we function, what we do. And I've got 2 questions for you, Dean, because I know you love the movies. You were talking a lot about the communications and movies, and that was a big part of your life, wasn't it, in terms of going and visiting
Going
the
to
cinema.
the movies,
Going to the movies. I used to look forward to your Facebook posts to the movie that you've seen.
My movie reviews, Team Jackson reporting live. That's right.
And how have you dealt with that from this balance of, yes, we can watch anything we want at home?
Yeah, I just watch from home. You go so, this is the thing about the equalizer, is that there is no obstacles to you being a choice for people to watch. Like my access to content, so really what we'll call it, right? Content, video content is through, I have a smart television, as we all do, access to that's online, and you can watch YouTube or Amazon Prime or Netflix or any of the cable thing. I mean, whatever you can have, I've got it. And there's no difference now no distinction between watching something from Netflix or something, from a professional or an organized kind of thing, or watching individuals, like watching something that anybody could create. So it truly is creating. Cloudlandia is 100% a meritocracy, that you are, if you create great content, you will win. That's just the end. Now, but you have to have reach. You have to have that great content, but get the to the right to the audience.
So in terms of some of the challenges that companies are facing, and you faced it, a lot of what you were doing had an in-person element. You're training live events, going and working on, whether it's your 9-word email, or it's your marketing messaging, or all of these things. A lot of that was the ability to be in the same room, feed off the energy of each other. We're human beings that like the same space to collaborate in. You've now had to go, well, many have had to virtualize and digitize, but there has been a choice. Do you virtualize and digitize the experience that you had before, or do you start again and look at what do we now do and how could we do it better? And you were telling a story about yourself of what you'd done in rethinking how to take people through a process that traditionally was an in-person training, kind of program, live event. Tell us what you did and what have been some of the benefits of that, how it was for you and how it's been for people that have been taking part.
Yeah, so I live in Florida most of the year, and it gets hot here in the summer. So traditionally, I used to split time between Toronto and Florida. And then the last 6 years, I've been just traveling more through the summer. So I go on a sort of world tour where I go to Toronto and London and Amsterdam and Sydney, and come back to Florida, doing live events in each of those places. And so in March, I remember it, March 13th, Friday the 13th, watching the television, and this coronavirus was just kind of making its way, and they shut down international travel into the United States. And I had an event scheduled for the end of March where some of the people that were coming from Europe and Canada. And so I knew, okay, that's a no-go. So immediately, literally 90 seconds after I heard him say those words, I immediately got to work. I created this, had my guys create this environment for me, learned Zoom, the capabilities of doing virtual events, and decided we're going to do the events, but we're going to do them on Zoom. And so immediately flipped. We did 5 of the Breakthrough Blueprint events just like that, because the essence of it, they're small boardroom events, 12 people at a time, which is perfect for Zoom and having this conversation. The essence of what you get from it is there, but you don't get the camaraderie or the in-between, the social elements of it. So it went well. And then I realized, because I'd been speaking at other events and seeing other people do events, that we were really, all of us, treating Zoom virtual events as just a replacement of live. We're doing what we do at the live events, but we're doing it virtually now. And it struck me that that is sort of a limiting thing, that if you look back historically, we've always sort of adapted to the new thing with how it relates to the old thing. So when cars came in, it was horseless carriages. And when the movies started, it was motion pictures, moving pictures. And without really understanding what the whole new capabilities that we had, all the things that we have uniquely possible because of the new technology. And so I adapted. Again, I've launched a new workshop where it's a spaced thing where we focus on one specific topic. So I just launched a lead conversion intensive, where we go over 3 sessions, 3 afternoons, focused 100% on, from the moment somebody opts in till the moment that they agree to collaborate with you, and spaced out so that people can do what we do in the first session: test, experiment, get feedback, adapt, come back, and we take it to the next step, and then come back again. And that experience has been amazing, because we just did the second session on Tuesday, and people have taken what we did in the first session and gotten results already from what we did in the first session.
And what I like about that is the richness of a unique opportunity. What you needed to unlearn of that baggage that you brought in the room, and then deciding, maybe let's experiment. Let's have some flexibility here to see what the new possibilities are. So I'm going to do an event. It's this, and by the way, it's going to be over a month, and you're going to have to come to this location for just 2 hours, and then you're going to have to travel back. And you wouldn't even think that way.
No, it would be
it'd be impossible. It'd be impractical, and wouldn't be good for anyone. Whereas now, that's not only practical and possible, it's better.
Yes.
In some ways.
Instant travel. Like you and I are having this conversation, literally, 2 feet outside of this door here. I'm in my own, I'm in my home environment. And it's just that.
Now,
instant travel.
You were able to rethink an existing proposition and do step 1 to digitize it and then reimagine it.
Yes.
And you have built the ability over many years to do that. you know, the freedom of your reflection, of your self-thought, of your mindset, and the way you see the world. Now, there's many people and organizations that aren't equipped with those kinds of muscles, that kind of lens. And today is a repeat of yesterday with a tiny tweak.
Yes.
And yesterday was a repeat of the day before with a tiny tweak.
Yeah.
And there's an awful lot of organizations that are so disrupted. How might they be able to look at the world differently? What sort of things could they do? What kinds of attributes, what ways of thinking? Could you give them any tips?
I think what my thinking around it was, what is the outcome? Like what is on the other side of doing the live events? Like I was really parsing out the elements of it, like almost like somebody would deconstruct a recipe for something, you know, or whatever, where you might say, well, what's the essence of this? What's the active ingredient in this? And so that's what I was looking at, is that the essential thing of the breakthrough blueprints in the boardroom are the communication, or being able to have the conversations. That's the essential thing, which there was no difference in the ability to do that, you know. And so you start to then, the first, as I said, 5 events that we did were just mirroring what we had done. But then I started realizing, well, what is possible now? Like, it is kind of, it's a little, even doing it at home or in an environment, it's still a little bit unwieldy to sit for a whole day to do the things, even though it's exactly what we would be doing in the boardroom. It's just not necessary. It's like the reason that we're doing it that way is to efficiently use the time that we are away, right? Like to get the most out of that. But if it's not, if there's no friction in the travel, could we get the most done in a 3 hours is, I think, the perfect, half day type of environment.
I think it's interesting. It comes back to, some of the dialogue you were talking about before of this Oliver twist of more. We always want more. So because I don't
There's a psychological principle for that we're wired with,
that way.
Yeah, I wish I could remember what it was, but
well, if now definitely... we've gone, I don't need to travel, so I can fit more in. And I got to do more. I got to do more. One of the challenges is that in Cloudlandia that we can instantly be beamed into, there's a couple of things going on in my mind as I think about Cloudlandia, that we're designing this. We're redesigning it in a way we want it to be. We're immigrants, as you like to talk about it, into that place. And it can be a Ready Player One where we go into it and it's an avatar and it's a manifestation of something that is in our mind. Or it can be the real Dean Jackson, that as we are here.
I think I've come to that I think this is, I don't think that and I could be wrong, open to being 100% wrong, but I think it's going to be a long time before we all agree that putting on a headset and fully going into that environment is the for most of the things that we're doing, that would be an incremental improvement, not offset by the hassle of
and I guess it's as hard as us to think of, well, I can't collaborate through the TV screen. I have to be in the same room until it's possible.
Until it's possible. I can
visualize it.
I can see a big wall.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's more likely that we'll have some equivalent of a holodeck.
Yeah.
In a room like this. Like, I'm just on my MacBook here, so I've got that screen. But I can imagine seeing the whole, 6 feet across here of all, super high def clarity video that would literally feel like we're sitting across the room.
It should be that the technology is invisible.
Yes.
We shouldn't need to see the edge of the screen or the MacBook or those things. And the other thing that I find interesting is that we have these choices. We can go and visit Cloudlandia, have a conversation, and we can become either overwhelmed or addicted? You
Yes.
know, is it a place we'd rather spend our time with than
Yeah.
our home? Is it the blend? Each of these things are decisions and choices that we all need to
Yeah.
make in order to say, from our perspective, is it sustainable?
Yeah.
Am I adding to myself or am I draining?
Right.
Because one of the challenges that we've noticed, and people talk about this Zoom fatigue, is just how cognitively hard it is to
Mhm.
have conversation. You mentioned 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know, just the amount of brain power we need to look at somebody, watch
Yeah.
them, understand what's going on
Yeah.
is exhausting. You
Yeah.
know,
That's
it's
why you
this
really, it'd be hard to do that one-on-one, but in a group where you
in a
can kind
group.
of rest a little bit
Yeah,
and sit
yeah,
back and watch the conversation for a little bit
for
and
those bits.
then lean up and
In
contribute.
terms of your, you know, we've got a little bit of period left of 2020.
Hmm.
And we, as you know, fellow coach people work in 90-day chunks, you know, and we look that far
Yeah.
ahead, but also as visionaries and entrepreneurs are always looking for where the opportunities are
Yeah.
and what kind of future we want to create. If there's somebody who is in an organization and where historically they thought, oh, large equals secure, you know,
Uh,
I went, got educated, and there's many people like that, you know, that go into
yeah.
large organizations and into companies that's all of a sudden the future doesn't look that secure. It looks
Hmm.
very insecure for them. And entrepreneurs have built this muscle of being able to navigate in uncertainty.
Yeah.
There's many who aren't able to navigate in that
Right.
uncertainty. As entrepreneurs, how might we help those others that aren't necessarily entrepreneurs yet? I'm
Hmm.
interested in your thoughts of, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? I know that
Hmm.
Gino Wickman has got a book and a very interesting view on you either are or you aren't.
Right.
Um, what's your views on entrepreneurs and the next, you know, next part of this year for those that are perhaps facing a situation that's so uncertain and they're thinking about a hustle, they're thinking about a side bit, that where could they start? What could they learn from you as a very seasoned entrepreneur who works with so many of them, of how to start thinking like an entrepreneur and what to
Well, I
be
think right
aware
now
of?
there's a market. I mean, I think this idea, no matter what, is building your life around your unique abilities, your
Mm-hmm.
passions, the things that excite you, the things that you like to do. Imagine there's never been a better time to say, well, all I want to do is this, and no matter what it is, whether you just want to, do accounting, or whether you just want to take customer service calls, or you want to do something out, whether you want to do something as a contributor to someone else's vision, or you want to have your own vision and enlist other people to take your vision. There's never been a better time for it. I mean, the littlest thing, no matter what it is that you can do, you have access to the totality of Cloudlandia, the entire population of Cloudlandia. There's somebody out there looking for exactly what you can do and contribute. So you can be entrepreneurial, let's call it that. I think the
Mm-hmm.
whole notion of entrepreneurial is really changing, where there's another level of it where you can be self-sufficient in a way, right? Where you can
Yep.
be, do only the thing you want to do, no matter what. You can tap into um, cash flows. You look at there's, I think, a lot of um, room to think about the distinctions between the mainland and Cloudlandia. And there are opportunities on both. It's more like
Both.
the
Mm-hmm.
mainland is definitely more of a linear uh, uh, thing, where
Yep.
the laws of physics apply, and all of those things. In Cloudlandia is more of a multiplier. There's zero friction in Cloudlandia. You can get from one place to another. We can instantly connect in Cloudlandia, even though
Yep.
I'm assuming you're in England right
I
now,
am.
and I'm, yeah. but you could have been anywhere,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter, right? So, but on the ground, there's an opportunity for people to be mainland providers of services. So meaning you could drive Uber, you can do Instacart or
Yeah.
Uber Eats or any of there's so many things that
Yeah.
you can
It's hard to
do.
it's hard to have your hair cut in Cloudlandia. It's hard to
Yeah,
get
it's hard to
a
digitize a
tattoo.
haircut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to get a tattoo, and all of these, interesting, things of where's the opportunity in each.
yeah,
And I believe entrepreneurs are the ultimate adapters
yes,
because they're able to understand ability, their character, and their environment,
yes,
and seek to leverage the environment and leverage
yeah,
their ability to be able to create value.
that's it.
And that, to me, is the bottom line, that the moment we stop adapting is the moment we collapse, the
The
moment we
future's
die.
bright.
It is, and it's bright because we decide it so.
That's it.
Of those things. If people have been listening and they are intrigued about your blueprint courses, your lead conversion courses, all of these different things, how do they best get in touch with you, Dean?
The best place is deanjackson.com. That's just got all of the things that we're involved in. That's the best place to start. And then, listen to the Welcome to Cloudlandia podcast, which will be the first episodes will be up this month. So very exciting about that.
I really love it. And there's one last question. So you kindly got a sneak peek to our documentary film that we're releasing very soon.
Amazing.
And you've also had a little experience of our AQai assessment. What were perhaps some of your lasting impressions and insights from those things that you shared?
It felt like the documentary is amazing. Well done. I mean, Nick is great. The content is great. The topic is great. The assessment that I did, the process of taking the assessment was unlike anything I've ever done. It felt very conversational, like like I was being guided through it, which is amazing. It was a fun experience and insightful to see the results, to see the how you break down what the information that came out of it.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a real joy. I always look forward to your pearls of wisdom when we're in workshops together, because it's over to Dean to be able to come up with unique words. The what was one of them? Hooportunist?
Opportunities, yes.
Hooportunities.
Who, not how. That's right.
The who, not how. I just love them. And I think that's certainly one of many of your unique abilities, Dean.
That's
and
great.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ross.
Do you have the level of adaptability to survive and thrive the rapid changes ahead? Has your resilience got more comeback than a yo-yo? Do you have the ability to unlearn in order to reskill, upskill and break through? Find out today and uncover your adaptability profile and score, your AQ. Visit AQai.io to gain your personalized report across 15 scientifically validated dimensions of adaptability. For a limited time, enter code PODCAST65 for a complimentary AQai assessment. AQai, transforming the way people, teams, and organizations navigate change. Thank you for listening to this episode of Decoding AQ. Please make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast directory, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Please do leave a review and be sure to tune in next time for more insights from our amazing guests.